We are back for part 2, wrapping up all of the manga that I read for my 14 Reads to Love challenge in the month of February. And for the most part, I have to say, they were all around reads that I ended up loving. Like, there were a few that were like, not quite for me, but majority-wise, I loved them. Like, so many of them were so great. And I'm really glad that I got to complete some series and read some whole series that I'd been meaning to for forever. So yeah, I hope your reading goals panned out this February, and drop it below what you ended up reading for the month, whether it was part of the challenge or not. You know, I'm just a nosy girl. I just want to hear what you've been reading. And before we get started, I just want to say a huge thank you to everyone who has subscribed. And if you haven't yet, please do not forget to hit that subscribe button if you like all things manga and anime, because I post a manga related video every Monday and an anime related video every other Wednesday, plus extras like this one. But yeah, we officially, at the time of me recording, have reached 1,500 subscribers. Yay! It was such a goal for a while that I'd wanted to reach. So I really appreciate everyone who subscribed. Obviously, YouTube kind of, goes up and down, so it might go back under 1,500. But for the moment, I'm gonna be really happy about it. And give you all a shout out and a thank you and a hug. So yay! All right, with that out of the way, if you like this video, please do hit the thumbs up button, turn on notifications so you never miss an extra video like this. And let's move into everything I read part 2. If you missed part 1, go back if you want more reads that I read this February, but this is covering the last 7 reads I read for the challenge, and it was quite a lot. I'm pretty proud of myself, but we're gonna start on the lower end. I wouldn't say these were bad reads by any means, but they were the weaker reads, and like with part 1, I'd like to start off with those. Just to, move on into my favorite reads. So yeah, first up is the only one that I didn't have a physical copy with me because I read it before I left home, and that is Revolutionary Girl Utena. So I have like 2 hardcover omnibuses. They're gorgeous, and they just been sitting on my shelf for way too long, let's be honest. And I'd always heard about how, number 1, it was a magical girl classic. Number 2, how it had some very strong lesbian tones in it. And I wanted to get to it, I want to read it. And it was interesting. I'm not putting it lower because I didn't like it at all. It had really interesting aspects and elements to it. I would just say it was a bit convoluted in my opinion. And I really did not like Anthe. I'm so sorry, but if I don't like one pair of the possible lesbian love Yuri relationship, I couldn't really root for them. Like, yes, we get a lovely little kiss and it's cute, but I don't like Anthe, so I don't care. Like, I personally was rooting for this guy. Yes, I kept forgetting what his name was. I don't care. I still loved him, and he kept getting the short end of the stick, and I just felt so bad. He was like, yeah, a little bit of a playboy. He's a little bit too much in the beginning, but he settles in really quickly and becomes such a champion of Utena, and he's like such a steadfast like person in her corner, helping her and stuff. I mean, but no, she falls for the other guy that's whatever. And then of course there's like the Anthe love-ish triangle situation, love square. There was a lot of messiness with the crushes and the relationship prospects. Even though I guessed kind of the direction it was going with the like weird castle floating upside down in the sky, like how Anthe and the other guy that appears play into this. So I wasn't really like shocked or surprised or like whatever. I was just like, okay. But that was not at all expanded upon. It was like right near the end. So it's just like, we get the reveal, we get the climax, and we're out. And it actually finished in the first half of the second omnibus. So the second half of that second omnibus was deemed side stories. The first two felt like they kind of fit into the narrative of the original story and just like were like cut stories type of thing. The last two was like one bigger story, and I actually liked that one a lot more. I liked Anthe more in it. She's a little bit of a, well, a hoe, but she's interesting, and her motives are obscure and mysterious, just like in the regular one, but in a way more interesting way. I just preferred the side story Anthe way much more. So I actually ended up preferring that story. But again, we don't get enough of it. It's not fleshed out enough. So it's like, okay, I liked the direction of this one, but I don't get enough story. The first one took its time in the first volume, but then the second volume felt really rushed. So it was just kind of a mixed bag for me. It was interesting. It had interesting elements. I really liked Utna for the most part. She gets a bit boy crazy, like I mentioned, but for the most part, she's charming, she's strong, independent, and she's her own prince. And I think that final message that they'd kind of been, you know, putting it in there, but really like hammer home in the end is a pretty good one. However, I just don't think it's executed well, in my opinion. I haven't seen the anime. Maybe that like kind of fleshes things out, takes its time more, and wouldn't feel as rushed. So maybe I prefer that. But yeah, anyway, those are my feelings on Utna. I had a lot of them because I felt pretty conflicted about the whole thing. So sorry that dragged on. But I read Revolutionary Girl Utna for my cover with flowers prompt. Sorry, I forgot to mention that in the beginning. But yeah, let's now move on to my next read, and that I read for the LGBTQ plus prompt. I was getting a little tired. I'm not gonna lie, I read a few series and I kind of lost the momentum. So I didn't end up reading either Yellow or New York, New York, which were two shorter series I thought I could accomplish. I didn't get to them. Hopefully, maybe June, I will try to read them. But I ended up reading this one shot, Beautiful Things. So this one is also messy. It is messy in its angst and drama, and just like everything really does not go well for Matsuoka. He ends up finding solace in cross-dressing, but that just turns out really bad for him at the start of the story. And I should say there's like trigger warnings of like a lot of things. This is dark, this is dramatic, this is heavy one shot. So like go check out more if you're interested. But yeah, there's some non-consensual things, or like taking advantage of people in sexual ways. It's not a light and breezy one shot, we'll just say. I'm okay with that. Obviously, like some of those tropes would bother people, and I totally understand that if you want to stay away from it. It is written well. Like you can see the pure emotion, the devastation, the sadness on the characters' faces. You get why it goes so far with Matsuoka kind of quote unquote tricking another guy that he ends up meeting for the first time while cross-dressing. And it isn't oopsie doozy, made a mistake, oh hee, it's okay, I love you for you kind of situation that plays out. It's much darker than that. It's much possibly more realistic, but it hurts. It just hurts. Like I feel for this boy, okay? And even though yes, he did like not come clean right away, which he should have, but yeah, it's a hard read. But it was emotional and it was angsty and dramatic, which I really do enjoy. But then we get to the end and it's just so rushed. Like I know one shots I usually say like they're rushed, you know, you get what you get. But this one really, really needed one more chapter at least, because it ends. It's just, that's it. It ends. And it's just like, it does not feel satisfying. Like, I struggle to say overall I like this one, because the ending was just, it gives you the tantalizing bit of what you want, but it does not really commit to it. And so it just feels very unfinished. And in that way, I did feel unsatisfied by the ending. But the whole thing, I did enjoy. So yeah, again, complicated feelings, mix of liking it and being a little disappointed by it. At the end, if I was home, I would have immediately gone and read this series, The Cornered Mouse Dreams of Cheese, and its sequel, The Carp on the Chopping Block, something like that. But these two are also equally angsty and dramatic and messy and a hard read at times. It just fleshes things out a little bit more, in my opinion. So I would recommend that if you liked this one or you liked certain themes of this one. But yeah, this one itself felt a little just missing the mark just a little bit incomplete for me. But beautiful art and really tragic, sad, depressing, emotional roller coaster of a story that I didn't not like. So, but yeah, let's move on. We've gotten the ones that I was a little wishy-washy out of the way, and now we are moving into the ones that I thoroughly enjoyed. And we'll start with the one that isn't a complete read, and that is Kowloon, that I read for my prompt Yen Press title. I just gotten a bunch for Christmas, around Christmas time, and I really wanted to catch up. This series is full of mystery and intrigue and just keeps me on my toes. But yeah, so I got volume 4 to volume 8. I technically only ended up reading volume 4. Volume 5, I mean, oh my gosh, I wanted to share all these covers because they're so pretty. Volume 6, just so colorful and beautiful. And volume 7. So I technically did not complete the amount I wanted to complete, which was to volume 8. It was a combination of, I got to volume 7 and I felt like that was a good stopping point for me. And volume 9 just came out and I don't have volume 9. So I'm like, I'll just, wait and read volume 8 and 9 together maybe. I don't know. That's just how I felt. But yeah, this has some mature themes in it and a very interesting romance. Like, the romance is a main focus of the story, but there's also just so much else going on. There is this huge focus on the city of Kowloon itself, which is getting more and more interesting by the volume. Like, it just keeps going and going, and I'm just like, sometimes I think I know where it's going, and then it just swerves away, and I'm like, okay, I don't know. My biggest reservation on this one is, do I think the ending will be satisfying? Because it's giving us so much twists and turns and mystery and interesting elements to chew on. Can it execute the landing? I always do get nervous with these type of very out there series that tackle a lot of themes and mysteries and elements. However, the art is captivating, the characters are interesting, and I'm enjoying the ride. So even if we don't stick the landing, I'm having a good time with this one. And obviously I do hope that we stick the landing, but just saying, like, I think it's still worth your time. I don't want to talk too much about it, but it's following this girl, Kujirai, who is working with a colleague that she has a crush on in this city called Kowloon. Kowloon is very, like, kind of antiquated and full of nostalgia, which is a huge theme of this, but also has huge futuristic themes. It's very sci-fi-esque, not in like obvious ways, but in the back burner of this world is a lot of like sci-fi concepts and stuff. and it plays a big role in the story itself. So it starts in volume 1 like a workplace romance, and then even by the end of the first volume, you're like, oh, this is going in a different direction. I have no idea where it's going, and you will continue to feel like that. At least I have through volume 7. So yeah, I think it's really great. I don't want to speak too much on it because I just think you should pick it up and read it. Go read volume 1 summary, see if it intrigues you. It's really good. Really, really good. So yeah, moving on now, we are into the complete series. So these are all series that I've completed, and I'm going to start with the one that I only needed to read 1 to complete the series. And I kind of just shoehorned in. This was the prompt. I had no idea what I was going to read. I was just going to read whatever struck my fancy. And I ended up getting volume 5 of Lonely Castle in the Mirror, the final volume of this series. And so I just had to talk about it a little bit, okay? It's my channel, and I can talk about what I want to talk about. And I want to talk about it because it's so good. And this one is one I read for anything but romance. So Lonely Castle in the Mirror has a lot of tropes in it. It's not devoid of romance necessarily, but romance is definitely not a forefront in this manga. And most of the romance is kind of a possibility. It's not really established. Like, the cover might make you feel like it's romance, but it's really not. We are dealing with a lot of trauma of these 7 kids who end up finding a magic mirror in their rooms that is a portal to this castle, and they get to stay in the castle until 5 p.m. every day until this end date. And if they find the wishing key within the castle, they can make any wish their heart desires. That's the premise. And it's so much more about these 7 kids and their traumas, the situations, their home lives, their interpersonal lives, and the bonds that they are making with these other kids inside the castle. So it's so good. It's just, I don't know, if you like character-driven stories, if you like series that are more deep and dark thematically, but have a lot of themes of resilience and hope and like the light at the end of the tunnel vibes, I definitely would recommend this. I'm so excited. I want to read the novel and I want to watch the anime of this one, and then I want to do a video hopefully in May, but don't hold me to that, to compare the 3 forms. I really, really like this manga. There are some little nitpicks I could make, but like that we kind of don't get the backstories of certain characters until this final volume, and we don't get a ton. I mean, we get a good enough amount to satiate me. We could go more, but I understand why we couldn't introduce these like characters' backstories until the final volume, because it would have given other details away right away. So I do like how they played out that mystery, though I totally called it last volume early on when they were trying to figure out what was going on. Not to pat myself on the back, but like, you know. Anyway, I just really, really love this one. I thought it was a really good, like, coming of age, you know, being able to move on and have like this found family that supports you and to try and grow stronger, and the struggles we face as children. You know, feeling helpless, feeling cornered, feeling like there's no way out, and like, getting through that very hard times in your life. So yeah, I think it's handled these heavy themes really well, and I really loved it. I really loved it. I wish we got like just a little more at the end, kind of like going through the after, kind of like the epilogue. But yeah, but I'm excited to read the novel and see if that one does go a little more into it. But yeah, either way, it was a really good read. I did not reread the first volume of, so I started the series back up on volume 2 of Neighborhood Story. So I read this one for the childhood friends prompt because my girl Makako here, and she has been childhood friends with her neighbor Tsutomo here on the back cover, and they have a very childish, it definitely feels like first love. It feels like young teenage relationship for sure. Like I always say about Aizawa, she makes her characters feel fucking realistic. Like, is it always endearing and adorable? No, Mikako is kind of annoying at times. She's kind of a brat. She's spoiled in ways, but I totally felt like I could relate to her. She's just like, you know, putting up a front sometimes, and she's trying to like express her feelings, but doing a crap job at it a lot of the times, especially in the first couple volumes. Yeah, she just keeps kind of pushing Tsutomu and I wouldn't say bullying him, but like, you know, just coming off too strong, yelling at him kind of too much. Like, reel it in, girl, reel it in. I know you have a lot of strong feelings, but you need to calm down. But as teenagers, it's really hard to control our feelings. So I totally get her insecurities, her uncertainties, her anxieties about like, what are they? What is the relationship of her and Tsutomu? Are they just best friends? Are they just childhood friends? Are they more? Do they both really have feelings for each other? So that's how like the first and the second volume definitely, you know, are like. And then when we get to the halfway mark and we move on to Volume 3 and Volume 4. Then we have more issues and dramas and different things to deal with, like their futures and like what they want to do with their life. They are both in a art school, and Mikako has always wanted to be a fashion designer, and she loves fashion, and she seems to be pretty talented at it. So she's struggling with now balancing a relationship and her love life with pursuing her dreams and what does, you know, her future look like. So I think it's really done well. I'd say the ending was a bit rushed. I would have liked to see like a little more, like maybe a reunion or something, not to like go into spoilers or anything. I would have liked to see like a little bit more, but we do get a flash forward to like, I'd say like 6 to 8 years in the future, which is nice to see everyone post high school life and how they've settled into their lives. And honestly, except for like one character, everyone kind of gets what they want. It's a happy ending. I was shook. Like I was not expecting it. The trauma from Aizawa runs deep with me, and I was just expecting everything to fall apart and no one to end up together because that's just what she's conditioned me to believe. But yeah, so we actually get some satisfying happy endings. I struggle with how one of them was like a love triangle, and you know, obviously in the love triangle, one of them does not get what they want. And I struggle how I feel about that because I actually ended up liking both of the girls. So I'm like, I don't know. And technically they both seem to end up happy. So I guess it is what it is, right? It's life. And that's what I think Aizawa captures so well in her series, the romance and also just the nuances of life in general. So yeah, really sweet, really made me tear up a couple times throughout the series. Especially when Mikako was dealing with her dad. And yeah, so overall it was really good. And I was really interested because I felt like there was similarities between this series and Paradise Kiss, another series by Aizawa that I've read in the past. And then in the very end, we do get kind of like that little bit of through line. So I really appreciated that. It wasn't in the way that I thought it was going to be, because like I couldn't really remember characters' names because I'm shit at that, as you know. But it did tie in, and I liked that. So yeah, overall, just a really good series. I mean, I kind of expected nothing less. I was just more terrified of not a happy ending, I guess. But we actually get a pretty happy ending for once. So that made my heart happy. I hope we continue to get more works printed from Aizawa that, you know, never ended up coming over in English anyway. I think there's at least, 2 other series that haven't been printed, but we got this one and then we got Last Quarter, which I do want to read this coming September, October this year. But yeah, I hope we get the rest of them, however many that is, probably more than 2. But I know I've seen like at least 2 other covers and titles that we haven't gotten over here yet. So yeah, I'm crossing my fingers and hoping for the best. On to the last two prompts and the last two complete series that I read for this challenge. And first up, I read Ladies on Top. I did restart it because it had been quite a while. I think around 2 years. I read the first and second volumes around when they came out, but then hadn't collected any more of the series. And for Christmas, I ended up getting them, so I was really, really excited. And yeah, I chose this read for my explicit versus soft prompt. I knew before I was going to make a soft romance and an explicit romance each separately, but not everyone likes to read explicit romances, so I was like, well, let's just make it a choice. So I knew once I made it a choice that I really wanted to read and complete the series, because while it is deemed explicit, there's explicit content warning on this book. However, I'd say this is a pretty soft romance. It's quite wholesome. It's quite healthy. You know, no toxicity here. We just have two sort of awkward but charming individuals who both have had issues, struggles in their sexual lives. And they just happen to start dating, and they happen to realize that while they don't perfectly fit each other and they're not perfectly ready for the type of intimate relationship that they both want, there is a definite desire there. And there's definite promise that they could get there. So they keep healthily communicating and working on making their sex life great for both of them. And it's just like, wow, we'd love to see it. Yes, there's some manufactured drama in there. There's a love triangle thrown in where this puppy dog kind of guy gets in the mix, starts crushing on her. Is it necessary? Not really. I don't really love triangles, but it does push the characters, albeit I thought he was kind of forced and ham-fisted, but he does serve to push the characters to the next step, the next level, and confess some things and kind of serve a purpose. Sometimes I feel like love triangles are just shoved in there for stupid drama, but at least this one did actually help our young couple progress their relationship. And he was a cute character. I'm not gonna lie, I kind of wish he had found somebody by the end, but this series, the only real critique I could make about it, it is 98% all about our main characters. There's really no room for any side characters that get introduced, which is a little bit of a shame, because I would have liked to flesh out some of the side characters, but as this is a tight 6-volume series, I also see why it was more important to just focus on our main characters, focus on their relationship. And I'm not too upset about it, but there were some interesting characters that were brought up through the course of the series that just either disappear after a volume or two, or just never really get much more characterization or any real purpose other than to support our main characters. And yeah, so that would be my one critique of this series. Otherwise, it was cute, wholesome, amazingly sex positive series. You do not have to be pigeonholed. You do not have to do the same thing that everybody else is doing. If it's not working for you, there will be someone who understands or accepts or is able to meet you in the middle and fulfill your relationship in that intimate way at your level, and you don't have to compromise and be miserable. And I just, yeah, it makes me happy to see that. So yeah. And last, but certainly not least, for the prompt high school romance, I finally read My Love Mix-Up. So I had started this series again. But a couple years back, I'd gotten volume 1 and volume 2 and I'd read them. And then it took me a while to buy the rest. And by the time they all came in, this is a 9-volume series. I don't know why I kept volume 1 for this one and not the last volume, but whatever. This is a 9-volume series. And by the time I got the rest of those volumes, I just wasn't in the mood to read them anymore. I don't know why I do that, but yeah. Anyway, I finally read through all of it, and I think I read through it in a day. I think it was a Sunday. It's 2 Sundays ago, I think. And I just literally sat down, read the first 2 volumes, took a little break, and then started the volume 3. And I think I just kept reading. I just kept reading and reading, and they're just so cute. It's so stinking adorable. Like, I have no other words to describe it other than the cutest romance, the cutest chocho featuring this high school romance. And I'm really glad I picked this for high school romance because it seriously does like exist basically just in high school. Like, we get the smallest of epilogues, which I'm not someone that really cares if we do get an epilogue or not. Sometimes it's like when a romance is finished, I don't need to know, necessarily what happens, but sometimes I am curious. And I was in this case, like, kind of hoping for a little more of an epilogue, but at the same time, it is a first love, a first romance that takes place in high school. And that's kind of where it ends. Yeah, it's just pretty self-contained first love romance in high school. And yeah, this all starts because of a mix-up, a misunderstanding, if you will. So our main character, Aoki, has a crush on Hashimoto, the girl that sits next to him in class. He doesn't have an eraser one day. She lends him his. He realizes that the eraser says Ida on it. He ends up dropping the eraser, and who happens to pick it up but the boy in front of him named Ida. So obviously, Ida now thinks Aoki has a crush on him. And he asks him to go on the roof to reject his feelings. Aoki has just promised Hashimoto that he will not reveal her secret, and keep it to himself. So he is stuck just feeling all of these like hurt emotions that, his crush doesn't like him back, and feeling frustrated that he can't really explain the situation to Ida, but that Ida's kind of being a little blunt about it, a little like not taking consideration of his feelings, even though he doesn't really have any feelings for Ida, but he's still trampling unknowingly on Aoki's feelings. So that is how the misunderstanding and the mix-up begins. I really like that in volume 2, the mix-up part gets resolved. And I also really like that it's not a love triangle. You think, oh, Aoki and Hashimoto are both crushing on Ida, right? There's a twist. And it gets revealed in the last pages of the first volume. So I'm not going to go into the twist and everything, but it ends up following a relationship of 4 characters. And I really like all 4 of them individually. I think they're interesting, fleshed out, well, multi-dimensional, well thought out characters. And as prospective couples, I also ship them so hard. I think they're so adorable together, Aoki and Ida. It's beautiful, and I'm so happy that they went for it. They didn't make him go, oh yeah, no, I don't like guys, like I don't like that. They just slowly start realizing that because of this mix-up and putting this thought into both of their heads, they end up noticing the good attributes of each other and end up thinking about them more than ever before. And that just naturally ends up being the beginning of actual real feelings. So I just thought it was so cute and realistic because, like, yeah, it's goofy, it's very rom-com, and the premise is very out there, silly, but like, honestly, miscommunication, weird things happen in high school, and sometimes a person you wouldn't have noticed except for this random incident happens, and then all of a sudden they're a focal point. They like go to the front of your mind, and all of a sudden you can't stop like noticing them. Your eyes keep, going and following what they're doing without you even realizing it. Like, oh my God, it brought me back to all those high school feelings. Like, ooh, the middle school, high school crushes. Like, I felt like seen in this. Like, it definitely embodies the high school romantic experience. And it just was so cute. I can't say enough good things about this one. The art is so soft. It's so cute. Aoki's faces crack me the fuck up throughout this one. And yeah, they're just charming individuals and couples, like I said. And I don't know, I recommend if you like shoujo, if you like soft, fluffy, cute, romantic, and comedic series, that you check this one out because it was such a joy to read. And yeah, that is all for me. Those were the last 7 reads of February that I tackled for my challenge. And yeah, I can't believe February is over. Another month in 2025 already gone. How does time fly like that? But yeah, so I hope you will tune back in for my February haul video that will drop the first Monday in March. And yeah, like I said, had a lot of fun reading these series, and for the most part, really did love them. And yeah, I'm just curious to hear what you read and what you did or did not love in the comments below. And until next time, bye!